The internet definitely has a long-standing kink for villains with unresolved trauma, because there is literally no logical explanation for the dedicated fandoms rallying behind characters like Anakin Skywalker or Geto Suguru. The newest addition to this list is Henry Creel, aka Vecna from Stranger Things. People find him hot, even in all his noseless, tendril-covered glory. The consensus was pretty stable when he first showed up and hijacked Max's mind in Season 4. He was the final big bad. But after Season 5 of the show, that opinion no longer stands. To begin with the obvious, Vecna never had much scope for a redemption arc. By the time he was introduced, he was already established as the reason for the events starting from Season 1. Back then, no one tried to figure out why he was doing what he was doing. The intention was to stop him, not empathize with him. And I think that was only normal because when he kept terrorizing and killing people across dimensions, playing his therapist would have been a sure-shot way to end up like Chrissy. But then came Stranger Things: The First Shadow, which quietly pulled the rug out from under everything we thought we knew. While the Netflix show focused on Vecna, the stage play fleshed out who Henry was. And just like that, he was no longer seen as the bad guy. He was just a lonely, confused, and scared child who was struggling to keep his sanity intact. Created by one of the writers of Stranger Things, who has called the events of the play canon, this production is what gave fans the context behind Henry's transformation into Vecna, without excusing his actions. Once we saw that, there was no going back. The Henry Creel effect was truly set in motion. On paper, the obsession with Vecna makes almost no sense. He was objectively a coward who targeted only children because he considered them weak and malleable. His insecurities did not allow him to manipulate adults because, deep down, he knew that they could outsmart him. This really was his fatal mistake, because his ending echoed exactly what Eleven had told him, that children are smarter than he thinks they are. So when people are calling the script rushed because his death felt anticlimactic, they are losing sight of the fact that he was always meant to go out with a whimper, not a bang. He met a coward's end. So why are fans down bad for a narcissistic murderer who controlled legions of demogorgons, but could not stand up to a couple of teenagers? This is because Henry Creel is not a typical villain. His story does not make people hate him for targeting kids. It makes them wonder why he felt powerless enough to only target kids. We love to empathize with villains because most of them are not inherently evil, but are simply the products of their circumstances. After all, it is only human to look for the good in others. Henry resonates with us in many ways. His isolation, emotional confusion, and lack of support effectively pushed him to the edge. And the only person who ever encouraged him almost died. The Mind Flayer may have taken over him, but the stage for that takeover was set by the people around Henry. It did not take a lot of effort on this entity's end to corrupt Henry's mind and set the wheels in motion for his ultimate transformation into Vecna. This is seen when Will recognizes Henry not as a monster, but simply a scared child. Will knew what it was like to be invaded and isolated, so when he saw Vecna as someone who was similarly used as a tool, Henry felt human, even if it was just for a second. But the thing is, by that time, he had already gone beyond the point of return. The Mind Flayer had pretty much raised him to be Vecna, so Henry no longer believes that he had the ability, or even the desire, to resist. His pain and trauma were validated, and he was made to feel that it was justified for the world to deserve punishment. Henry chose not to take a stand because he genuinely believes that the Mind Flayer was right, not because he was incapable of goodness. In his twisted way, he considered it a kindness to grant the world its end. This cave scene makes so much more sense, especially if you have also watched the stage play. It paints a very clear picture that Vecna did not choose darkness instinctively. He was simply never pulled back out of it. And it gives the fans an explanation for all the whys surrounding this villain, which in turn breeds empathy. But let's face it, Henry's story is not the sole reason why fans are romanticizing Vecna and calling him a morally gray king. The real cause for this is indeed Jamie Campbell Bower's powerful performance. He did not just play Vecna, he personified the character across multiple identities and timelines and made everything look perfectly cohesive. He is already compelling as Vecna, as he emboldened the monster with as little CGI possible. But he is even more convincing as one who befriends Eleven at the lab. He is absolutely magnetic as Mr. Whatsit, who charms children with his gentleness. It almost makes you feel like he genuinely has some kind of personality disorder, because it is insane to see such a layered performance. And let's not ignore his physicality. The soft facial features, the expressive eyes, the way he lightly tilts his head as if he is always listening, even if no words are exchanged, his calm, deep voice with a strange touch of reassurance.
Perhaps I have failed, and the black thing has won.
He is not loud hot. There is nothing flashy or cocky about him. His stillness and unsettling composure feel dangerous but also oddly alluring. There is an intelligence to him that makes him very attractive. He studies people, understands emotions, and exhibits a patient kind of confidence. He is not physically imposing in a macho or dominant way. He is a powerful man who appeals strongly to a generation that is tired of alpha archetypes. Well, a powerful man who almost got schooled by one of the very kids he tried to manipulate. While Eleven and the gang ultimately took him down, they were always scared of him in some capacity. There was only one person who had the guts to cuss him out. It was a genius move on Holly's part to ask Derek to unleash his dipshit side on Vecna. The scene where he asked Derek who gave him the map to the cave, and the 4-footer replied with, "Your mom."
Who gave you this map?
Your mom!
I knew that even the mind flayer inside Vecna was experiencing a facepalm moment. Derek's unhinged, suck my fat one energy was a much needed vibe, because there is something so strangely satisfying about a villain being at a loss for words in front of a literal child. I would not even call it comic relief, it just felt purely cathartic. Also, the internet's obsession with him after seeing him say, "get out," in that scene when Will Byers first took control of him, has pretty much cemented its very own fanbase.
What is happening? Get out!
And I do agree, Henry Creel did come off with a forbidden appeal to him this season, in more ways than one. Having said that, Vecna is neither good nor redeemable. He is sophisticated and intriguing, and unfortunately for us, he looks excellent while being all those things. Watching all the BTS clips of Jamie, it is almost impossible to believe that this gorgeous man played Vecna, and I am really glad that he is getting his due. Jamie Campbell Bower has made appearances in other famed franchises, like Caius in Twilight, and a young Grindelwald in Harry Potter. But his role in the Mortal Instruments' City of Bones is my favorite after Vecna. He was supposed to star in the Game of Thrones prequel series, Blood Moon, in early 2019, but HBO ultimately canceled it. Considering how House of the Dragon is still running, with the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms coming out soon, I am really hoping that he lands a role in one of these. With those cheekbones, pale skin, and a talent to act in a violent and twisted manner, don't you think he would make a perfect Targaryen? I hope you can excuse the digression, because, well, can you really blame me? Coming back to explaining the Vecna craze, he is not a character we are meant to forgive. The intention was solely for us to understand him. Somewhere between the expanded narrative of The First Shadow and the unreal performance of the actor in the Netflix show, Vecna stopped being a monster and turned into a fixation. Origin stories are all the craze today, so there is always a why behind every villain. The internet's love affair with Vecna, Anakin, Gato, or Loki has less to do with glorifying evil and more with interrogating, and it is not stopping anytime soon.